The moment your very first actual salary hits your account, that exact number feels like an ultimate green light to begin enjoying life. Imagine two parallel versions of yourself standing at this exact crossroads, gripping that identical payout, fueled by the exact same dreams. Identical career, identical income, identical beginning. Yet fast forward 4 decades, and those two lives will look completely alien to one another. One path instantly chases flashy status, while the other silently builds real financial power. And at this very second, the difference between those two paths is completely invisible. The divide is never created by one massive leap. It stems from a tiny habit executed silently over decades. Observe how this solitary routine fractures an average existence into two entirely opposite destinies. Phase 1. You hit 23 and the showroom lights seem like a victory lap you've undeniably earned. The first persona commits to a 72-month contract on a $55,000 luxury car. Because right now, you crave the immediate feeling of having made it. You upload a picture of the keys, the validation floods in, and for a single weekend, you feel absolutely invincible. Yet, that installment gets pulled from your bank each month, silently bleeding out your future years before they even kick off. The second persona holds on to the aging hatchback, stays completely silent on social media, and funds an investment portfolio that very afternoon. You schedule that exact same auto loan amount to automatically buy assets. After that, you act like that cash was never even yours. Not a single person claps for you. Nobody pays attention. But that exact silence is the true frequency of financial freedom taking root. To put it in perspective, that gleaming vehicle bleeds 30% of its worth the second it leaves the lot. At this stage, the distance separating these two realities is minor, around 50 grand, but it is actively expanding. Stage 2. You turn 27, promotions roll in, and your lifestyle inflation silently creeps up to match your new income. The first persona elevates their entire lifestyle with a premium apartment, spontaneous getaways, and a luxury timepiece that complements the ride. Every single pay bump evaporates into the illusion of a higher standard of living. Yet, mysteriously, your checking account stays entirely stagnant. You pull in significantly more cash now, but you experience the exact same financial stress you felt at 23. The second persona accepts the salary bumps, maintains their previous standard of living, and funnels every extra dollar straight into the market. Your day-to-day routine remains virtually untouched, while your portfolio balance suddenly displays a figure that leaves you stunned. You might not feel wealthy in the present moment, but beneath the surface, you are secretly transforming into an unstoppable force. Just to be clear, burning through every single pay increase is known as lifestyle inflation. And it is the precise reason why massive earners remain secretly poor. That invisible divide continues to stretch, and those two realities are now separated by roughly $120,000. Stage 3. You hit the age of 30. A massive career leap finally happens, and society assumes your new house will broadcast your status. The first persona locks down a massive estate in an exclusive neighborhood, convinced that an elite job title requires an equally loud flex. The massive halls are empty, the mortgage is paralyzing, and deep down, you are now far more dependent on your employer than they are on you. Each step up the corporate ladder feels less like liberation and more like an extra shackle binding you down. The second persona acquires a simple multifamily property, occupies one unit, and allows a renter to pay off the majority of the debt. You are literally resting inside an asset that generates revenue while you dream, causing your living expenses to plummet year after year. That massive job title turns into a choice, a simple utility you leverage rather than a hidden collar that ultimately controls you. To understand the scale, your monthly living expense is the ultimate factor dictating if your net worth can actually multiply. The distance between them has become brutally obvious, with a staggering $250,000 wedge now separating the two paths. Phase 4. You reach 35. Children enter the picture, and instantly every financial decision transforms into a test of your affection. The first persona signs them up for elite programs across the board, operating under the delusion that burning cash equates to being a better parent. Your schedule becomes packed with vanity activities, your safety net remains non-existent, and the suffocating demand to keep up appearances never pauses. You end up handing your kids a flashy show they won't even remember, along with a deep financial anxiety they will eventually absorb. The second persona quietly funds the next generation, establishing portfolios under their identities while educating them on the mechanics of building capital. You provide them with fewer flashy distractions and infinitely infinitely more stability as those assets quietly multiply in the shadows. Your kids internalize the reality that true financial power is cultivated silently, never broadcasted for public applause. In reality, raising a family costs exactly what you permit it to, and purchasing social status almost never buys genuine affection. The trajectory of these two realities breaks radically here, showing a massive $500,000 gap at the exact same milestone. Stage 5. You hit the age of 40, stepping into the absolute prime of your career, and the sheer weight of expectation has never been more crushing. The first persona is locked in golden handcuffs, grinding relentlessly every single year just to finance a luxury watercraft that rarely leaves the dock. Walking away is impossible, hitting the brakes isn't an option, and the expensive reality you constructed is now your master. Every incoming paycheck is completely spoken for before it even drops, turning those salary bumps into meaningless numbers instead of actual liberation. The second persona remains entirely at peace because their investment returns now consistently outpace their actual salary. You show up to your profession purely by choice, fully aware that your wealth would continue multiplying even if you walked away entirely. For the very first time, your capital rises before your alarm goes off and grinds much longer than your actual shift. To put it simply, the exact second your portfolio generates more cash than your day job, your wealth officially outworks your physical labor. That division is no longer a hidden secret, with these two realities now standing almost $900,000 apart. Phase 6. You reach 50, and the brutal reality of who holds genuine wealth finally steps into the light. The first persona desperately hustles to match the energy of younger peers, financing the luxury timepieces, the vacations, and the hollow illusion of being rich. To the casual observer, you appear incredibly successful. However, your bank documents whisper a much darker and more tragic reality. You burn through your 5th decade desperately faking a financial status you completely failed to secure. The second persona navigates a pre-owned vehicle, avoids branded clothing entirely, and has stealthily stepped into the realm of a 7-figure net worth. Not a single person in your circle has the slightest clue, and that ultimate stealth mode is the absolute definition of genuine liberation. You possess absolutely everything you require while feeling zero urge to impress the crowd, and that profound inner peace holds immeasurable value. To back this up, research from the famous text The Millionaire Next Door proves that actual high net worth individuals typically blend in as completely average. The financial divide is absolutely mind-blowing at this stage. A massive $2.5 million canyon now permanently separates these dual realities. Phase 7. You cross the age of 60. The end of your working years is looming, and 40 years of tiny daily habits are finally cashing out. The first persona awakens to the harsh truth that flashy items never transformed into actual capital, leaving their portfolio dangerously weaker than their loud lifestyle portrayed. You secretly start doing the math on how many additional decades of labor are required simply to maintain this hollow illusion. The premium vehicles, the massive estate, the designer timepieces, absolutely none of those physical objects can be exchanged to buy back your lost youth. The second persona hits that ultimate target metric, where passive asset returns can fully sustain their existence for the rest of eternity. You finally cease exchanging your precious hours for a paycheck, not out of exhaustion, but simply because survival no longer requires it. Every single sunrise belongs entirely to you, and that rigid schedule that previously dictated your existence is now a blank slate. As a core rule, ultimate liberation is just the exact threshold where your passive investments sustain your lifestyle entirely without your physical input. These two existences are literally in different universes now, divided by a staggering gap of around $3.5 million and climbing. Stage 8. You hit 65. Your professional grind officially concludes, and both alternate realities finally pause to reflect. The first persona sits with a driveway full of devalued high-end toys, an underwhelming retirement fund, and countless years wasted just acting out a wealthy fantasy. Those premium vehicles retain only a sliver of their original sticker price, and that ultimate independence you craved simply never materialized. You suddenly understand that the crowd you sacrificed everything to impress wasn't even paying attention to begin with. The second persona possesses absolute autonomy, explores the globe in understated luxury, and never spends a single second stressing over monthly expenses. You rock no designer labels, you hold absolutely zero debt, and every waking moment is under your complete control. That identical initial salary that financed luxury rides for the first persona ultimately purchased total lifelong liberation for the second. To put it plainly, both variations generated virtually the exact same lifetime income throughout those 4 grueling decades. The ultimate divide separating these two destinies exceeds $4 million, all originating from that exact same starting wage. Here is the brutal truth that society refuses to speak openly about. Status symbols are simply the physical objects you parade around to prove your existence to others. True capital is the hidden power you retain behind closed doors, and practically no one can visually spot the distinction. That loud, flex-heavy lifestyle screams at 23, but falls dead silent by 65, ultimately stripping you of the only asset that actually held value. The understated path remains completely unnoticed for decades until one random afternoon it literally hands you back your entire existence. Identical profession, identical income, identical beginning, and this evening, clutching that initial payout, you are currently making that ultimate decision. That vehicle will eventually decay, that property will ultimately be traded away, but the trajectory you lock in tonight will silently multiply for eternity.